and Thursday. Let's put these two together, because this is this is two important days, because now it's focused on preparation for our next opponent. Who we playing on Sunday? Now it's time to get ready for them. So while we may have left early on Monday and taken the day off Tuesday, the coaches were working. They were working, they were watching film, they were putting together the game plan, and by the time we get in there Wednesday, they have the game plan ready to go. They know how we're going to attack whoever we're playing on Sunday. So Wednesday and Thursday, once again, we get kind of a little choice on the workouts. We still have to lift weights. So we can lift early in the morning, like about 7 a.m., 7:30, before the meetings start. We can lift at lunchtime, or we can lift after practice. But you've got to make sure you get your training in. Get those, you're not doing a lot of heavy lifting, but you've got to do something. So that's required. Then we have special teams meetings. Special teams meetings are going to start around 8:15-ish, and only if you're on special teams do you have to be present. I wasn't always on special teams. Sometimes I was, but a lot of times I didn't have to go. So that means it's going to be about 8:15 to go to about 8:45. The special teams coach on that day will start talking about the special teams game plan and what's expected and what they're going to do. Now the team meeting, which could start 8:45, 9 o'clock. This is when everyone comes together. And this is when the coach kind of sets the tone for the week, sets the tone for who you're about to play. He's done his research too. Talks about how we're going to attack him, talks about their weakness, talks about what we're going to do, what we're going to work out, what the goal is and all that. He gives us his rah-rah speech as we kind of get ready to, get busy, get ready to prepare for our opponents. So after that, we break up. Offense goes here, defense goes there. Offense installs the game plan. Now, yes, we already have a playbook, and we have hundreds of possible plays we could have that we all know. But every week, there's specific plays that are put together for that opponent. Perhaps the coaches saw something, a weakness they want to capitalize on. Perhaps a team, the previous week took advantage of something, and maybe it was a long run or a pass pattern or something that exposed their defense. So they're going to somehow, input those plays in our game plan, obviously using our own language. So we'll go over those new plays and make sure we understand them, and then the offensive coordinator walks through them and kind of tells you our goals. After that, now the receivers and all the positions go separate and go into their own meeting rooms and meet with their coaches. Now, being a wide receiver, I'm going to go meet with my wide receiver coach and all the other wide receivers. He's going to talk through the game plan again to make sure we understand these routes and what's expected. And at that point, we're going to start watching film. And this is something we spend a lot of time doing, watching film. In this particular meeting, we're probably going to start watching our opponent's secondary. We're going to start watching the defensive backs, the secondary, or the safeties, the strong safeties, the linebackers. We need to start getting a feel for what the defense does. By this time, probably 11 o'clock, 11:30, it's lunchtime. We get about a 45-minute lunch, and typically the food's there, or you bring your own food, but normally they have the food there. But it's time for us to take a break, but at the same time, it's time for us to get ready for practice. So we might go in a room and eat, and then next you know we're in the treatment center getting our ankles taped, getting our wrist taped, getting our pads and everything ready. We're going to start putting on parts of our practice gear, and then you know what we do? We go to another meeting. Now I go back to the wide receivers room. We meet with the coach again. All the receivers are there. We're counting our pads in two. And by this time, I started developing a habit in this meeting to start stretching, because I realized that we don't stretch enough in our practices, and that's why there's a lot of pulled muscles. So I would usually jump on the floor and start stretching. But we're watching some more film and getting ready, probably 30 minutes, and then we're out. We go out to the practice field. And Wednesday and Thursday are longer days. It could be a 2-hour, it could be a 3-hour practice. Wednesday, they may focus more on the offense, while Thursday, they may focus more on the defense. It's normally pads, full pads. That's changed some over the years, where maybe they're not always full pads, and maybe they're just helmets, but for the most part, it's going to be full pads, and that's where most of your contact will take place. 2 to 3 hours, practice is done. Now what? Well, some might have to go lift real quick. Obviously, you got to get some treatment if you got some aches and pains. And then what? We go back to the meeting room. Now, we go into the meeting room to watch the 2 to 3 hour practice we just had, because they filmed it. So right away, they can critique our mistakes. They can highlight what we've done right. And it's a really great way for learning, because we've just had the practice. We can look at it right away, whether it's one-on-ones, offense, defense, 7-on-7, it's all right there. We take that home and we make our adjustments. But when we go home, this is what we go home with. You see this? Now these are VHS tapes. This is what I used to have to deal with. I would take 4 or 5 different tapes home, and all I'm looking at, once again, who am I playing this week? I want to see what the secondary is doing. If I'm going against Deion Sanders, I want to look at him and see his tendencies. I want to look at the blitzes. I want to look at everything. I want to learn as much as I can about my upcoming opponent so I can have an edge. And this is expected of all of us. Now, of course, now they probably got little discs and they stick them in their iPhones or their iPads or whatever, but this is how we used to do it back in the day. It's about preparing and watching the films and putting in that extra training you need to get ready for Sunday.